through the ages, Satan has used sun worship, its holidays, its pictures, and its customs to captivate the souls of human beings just like yours. Volumes can be found on the subject of the sun and its worship in nearly every public library. It has truly been Satan's masterpiece of deception. And it's associated with the basest forms of worship: idolatry, slavery, sex orgies, human sacrifice, mysticism, and intrigue. It can be traced from Nimrod, the great-grandson of Noah and founder of ancient Babylon, clear down to our day. It's the Encyclopedia Americana that says, even today, the worship and adoration of the sun is found in many religions and in all parts of the world. Pictures like this should cause a cold emotional response in the heart of the Christian. This symbolizes the enemy to your souls, the one who has caused all sickness and disease in the first place. Notice the serpent is wrapped around the sun. This serpent and his sun worship, these are symbols of the one who would instigate religious legislation to be informed under persecution. This is the symbol of the one who had Christ stripped, tortured, murdered, and buried, and he would do the same to every Christian if he could. For more symbols, we're traveling inside the Egyptian tombs, and here we see pictures of their worship and their gods of worship. Notice the snake, the serpent, coming in from both sides. On one side, you can see his wings and the sun over his head. Usually with sun worship, you'll find the serpent involved in symbology someplace. Here is a better picture of your enemy. Wings, sun, and all-seeing eye of Horus, plain to be seen. Look at this, the golden bull of Egypt. His name was Apis. This was a god in Egypt the time the Israelites were there. Show bull, gold of course, because he comes from sun worship. In the Children's Bible from New York, I want you to see the picture of the children worshiping before the golden calf, the children of Israel. Can you see it? Between his horns, can you see the sun disk? Knowing where these people came from, where Apis had been worshipped, you can understand why the artist who drew this conception of the calf with its sun disk and its serpent coming out of its base. In a different part of the world, we go to Peru. You see, in South America, Satan was worshipped by the ancient Incas on one of the highest high places of the world. The high places were an abhorrence to the Creator. There are a lot of texts showing his disgust for them. You see, it was on the high places that they would first see their sun come up in the morning and begin their services. In Leviticus 26:30, he says, I will destroy your high places. My soul shall abhor you. Numbers 21:28 and 29, a fire shall consume the lords of the high places. Numbers 33:52, 53, pluck down their high places, for I have given you the land. So the picture is very clear. The Heavenly Father does not like sun worship. The Inca Sun Temple is about 50 miles from Cusco, Peru. And if you go into that temple, you'll find that the stones are humongous in size. And if you look out the window in the back, well, let's walk around to the back of the temple. And there you'll see an altar. And on this altar were sacrifices made. Some say human sacrifices, some say animal sacrifices, depending on which guide you talk to, I suppose. But if you look at the base of the altar, it's interesting they had a hole in the mountain for the blood to flow in, and coming out of the hole is the serpent's head. Can you see the serpent's head right there at the base of the rock? Now we're going over to Mexico. We're going to the area where the Aztecs worship, eastern Mexico. It's also a center of sun worship. In fact, as you hear the beliefs of these people that used to live there, it seems they were trying to imitate the heavenly temple on which is the mountain of God. As you look at this mountain, actually pyramid, there are 4 staircases, and they represent the 4 seasons of the solar year. There are 91 steps in each staircase, and they represent the 91 times 4 days of the solar year. But if you look at the bottom of each staircase, there's the expected snake or serpent. Isn't that interesting? Sun worship and serpent. Here's a picture of the Ark of the Covenant, an artist's conception of a beautiful thing. Notice the 2 covering cherubs, the 2 covering angels. It's interesting that the scriptures bring out that Satan once held the position of a covering cherub when he was in heaven before he lost that right. In Ezekiel 28:14 through 18, speaking of Satan, thou hast sinned. I will cast thee out of the mount of God, and I will destroy you, O covering cherub, from the midst of the stones of fire. Therefore I will bring forth a fire from the midst of thee, it shall devour thee. I will bring thee to ashes upon the earth in the sight of all them that behold thee, and never shalt thou be any more. Really, that's Satan's death decree. Traveling over to another part of the earth, we see a picture of Mithra. This was really Paul's enemy as he preached his way across Asia Minor. Sun worship is Satan's religion, you know, and it comes in many forms and in many names. Most all of these religions have their special holy days or holidays. Notice how the holidays and festivals were associated with these false worships. Iran had the Feast of Meharajan, another name for Mithra. They had the 6th of Farvartan and the 11th of Din, that is the birth and death days of Zoroaster. There are also 6 seasonal feasts celebrating this creation of heaven, water, earth, trees, and animals, and man, each lasting 5 days. Yes, they had their days and their seasons, their times and their years. Now let's move on. Rome included festivals for most of the gods of the pantheon. The festival of Mars and the feasts of Saturn were highly honored. Saturnalia became associated with all forms of licentiousness. Mithra and Isis were both worshipped in Rome. Let's look at a little more. Regarding Celtic festivals, they were solar in character, chief among them being Samhain November 1st and Beltane May 1. On these days, bonfires were lit to represent the waning and the waxing sun, and worshippers danced around the flames to acquire the power of the sun. Then in Asia Minor, the cult of Mithra. So I showed you a picture of an illustration of Mithra a bit ago. But they also had the great mother of Asia Minor, Cybele. Both were popular in Asia Minor. The festival of Cybele was kept at the beginning of the spring when the goddess was born in a procession with music. Cybele was really a derivation of Semiramis, the wife of Nimrod. She was the goddess of the moon, but Semiramis was the first queen of heaven. I want you to look at Satan's unholy trio. Some would be angry with me for putting it this way, I suppose. But then I might be angry with them if they showed the ones that we believed in the same respect. But let's look. Unholy trio. In Egypt, she was called Isis. Notice the sun god. Notice their son.